All right. After a bathroom break and a couple changes, we're back in the room. I've invited Kaitlyn into the room, and Kaitlyn is Brian's right-hand person, right-hand man, right-hand woman. Whatever you want to call her, she's okay with, from my understanding. Known her for quite a while. Me and her met, how I got to Brian, me and her met on Facebook. So if you ever think that you're never going to meet anybody on Facebook, well, the new dating app is alive. But Kaitlyn reached out to me one day and said, hey, I kind of like what you had to say in a certain entity about something about real estate, I think. And I said, yeah, sure. And I texted her back and I says, call me, because I don't do text. I'm 54-year-old, 50, fat and happy. I don't do text a lot. So I just like to talk to people. Next day she called. And here we are 4.5, 5 months later, talking about how we can help Action Academy. And this girl is so passionate about bringing people together. I call her a fixer because she knows how to bring two people together that are absolutely perfect fits. And that is an ability that not a lot of people have in the world. They can't reach out to somebody and say, I need you to talk to this person because you guys would mesh perfectly together. And that's a true science. And kudos to you for doing that. So, Kaitlyn, why don't you introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are, what you are, and why you're here with us today.
Thanks, Doug. I really appreciate you just first of all, because I've learned so much from you over the past couple months. And actually our first call together, I couldn't even believe that I was talking to you because you just had this crazy portfolio of all these amazing things you had done. And I was just so grateful that you took the time, because at that point I didn't really have any type of real estate built up or any type of things to show off whatsoever. And you just took the time to mentor me and talk with me. And so first of all, just appreciate that. Background on me, I am a stay-at-home mom of 4 kiddos, a military spouse, and I have always wanted to get into real estate, but I never knew anyone who ever made over $200,000 a year. So I just didn't know anybody who had bought businesses, houses, anything. And so I was like, I need to figure out how to get around these people. And so last October, I started listening to Brian's podcast, and I started listening for kind of an insane amount, 4 to 6 hours a day of just Brian Luebben show, because I was enjoying every moment of it. And I was like, wow, my mindset is shifting and changing from scarcity to abundance. And so I think I need to join this path. And I heard him do a call to action. Hey, we have a community. If you're interested in joining, hop on a call with me. And I was like, okay, I feel like a huge amateur, but I think I'm going to try to jump for it because I feel like this fire and this call to do something bigger than myself. And so basically hopped on a call, joined the community, and the rest is history.
So did he come to you and say, hey, I need help with what's going on? Or did you go to him and say, hey, I'm willing to help you get to different places? How did that scenario, how did you become a part of Action Academy?
It was last January. I saw that he was kind of doing his own thing still and didn't have anybody kind of hired on. And I just loved his mission and everything he was doing. And so I started reaching out to him and saying hey, what if we added this to the community? Or what if we added this portion to the community? Do you think this would be a benefit? And he started to see the value in that. And so we'd hop on phone calls, kind of brainstorm different things to improve the onboarding process, how to bring more people in, how to, create retention. And so, did that for about a couple of months, and then eventually kind of got hired on to have a more full-time position to where now I'm in the weeds with the Action Academy and just loving and thriving with them every day.
That's awesome. See, that's what it's all about. See, Brian, we talk about listening to people, and we listen to something that came to us, and then we take that and let it go with itself. And look what she's doing for you. What's the best attribute that you can give us about Kaitlyn? And I mean, I can go on about her, but
she's okay.
Yeah, I understand.
No, she's amazing. So it was funny because so I'm doing the podcast, right? And then we're starting up Action Academy. So it's at the very beginning stages. So she's been in for a year now, from the very, very get-go. She's one of the OG members. And so I remember getting on the phone call with her, and I was just like, oh my God, I love her energy. Yes, somebody that's got the same energy as me. Heck yeah. And then it was the moment where I realized if I talk to the right person, she basically just said, I told her the price at the time, which we've more than tripled the price by this point, but she was just like, just take my credit card, take my credit card. And I was like, you don't even know how much it is. She's like, I don't care. I'm going to do it. And so I was just coaching for free. I was just the offer was 15-minute free coaching calls. And so she came on and I coached her, and then she was like, I want to do this. And I was like, okay, well, you are literally who I made it for. And then so her first like demonstration of excellence was she came in and she did our entire 30-day course in a weekend, like the entire thing. And she posted in the Facebook and said, hey, I did it. Now what? I was like, that was like 4 weeks worth of material. Right. She's like, here's my vision. Here's my goals. Here's everything. I was like, okay, you're going to fit in fine here. So then I was just like, all right, she's going to be a rock star. So we were just, it was just a community relationship. So I was like, okay, I'm going to pour into her. And then eventually, what I teach people is I'm like, yo, if you really want to be in someone's world, you have to find a very specific way to provide value to them. And then that's what she's really, really great at, is finding like the one minuscule pain point and really attacking that thing and leading with value. So when I talk about leading with value, like there's no better demonstration than her. So exactly. She comes in and she's immediately like, let me help. And she's not saying, how can I help? She's giving me suggestions of how she can help. She's saying, let me help with this. All of a sudden, we've evolved into this 20, kind of 10 to 20 hour a week kind of thing. And she's helping me for free for probably like 2 or 3 months? Yeah, 2 or 3 months. And then this is the period of time where I'm new in business. I haven't even considered hiring anybody yet or anything. And I was just like I was figuring out cash flow, and I was like, can we afford to hire someone?
Right.
But it came to a point where she became so valuable that I said, I need to figure out how to pay her, because this is amazing. So then we started out small, and then we just kept evolving. And now she's like, okay, cool. Let's help with sales. Like, let's help with this. Let's help with conversion. Let's help with retention. Let's help with renewals. And so now it's like, okay, cool. Now I'm learning and she's learning. So she's been with me on my journey as a business owner, because this is a new skill. You can read all the books, but until you're doing the thing, you don't know anything. And so now it's like, it's very cool. There was a moment where everyone's trying to hire her. Everyone's trying to hire Kaitlyn here now because she's amazing. And so there came a point where I was just like, oh man, like, who am I to keep Kaitlyn now? I was like, who am I? Why would she want to work with me now? And then I realized, I was like, oh man, like, we're paying some money now. I was like, this is awesome. So when we talked about, the whole being able to have your, like, make the million, net $1 million, pay $1 million, like give $1 million.
Yeah.
Now I'm just like, I'm able to create this vision. And the number one thing that I learned that was most impactful for me, and that advice I give to other people, is make your vision so big that high performers can fit their vision within that. And if you can't make a vision that's big enough, high performers won't work with you, because like it's a magnet. So I was just like, what is everything you want in life? Like, tell me anything that you want. What do you want your life to look like outside of this community? Like everything, like financially, everything. And she told me, and I was like, I will give you that within my vision. So it's like a huge portion of my day and a huge portion of everything that I do is making sure that she's got everything that she needs, to the point now where it's like, not only are we paying her like economically, but I'm giving her equity in the company, to where I'm like, this is guaranteeing that you become a millionaire through like this. Like, you will be, that's inevitable. Like, you will be a millionaire just from the equity of this on top of all your investing. And that all came from her leading with value, with no expectation of return.
No expectation. Yeah. Persistence and continuance is what it is. And that's one of the things I wanted to point out. And I really hoped he hit on it, and he did right at the end. And that's perfect. So what are you taking from all this, for just coming into this? Because I know you're a young entrepreneur, always wanted to be an entrepreneur from what we've talked. Kaitlyn and I have had a lot of conversations over the past 2.5, 3 months. I've helping her tighten up things and try to invest in real estate, and getting rid of her shiny object syndrome, because she likes to go after every single item in the room instead of focusing on one. And then she likes to just take it and buy it and do it, instead of actually looking at it to see if it's worth it before she buys it. So we're taming in on that. But how do you think you're getting along with everything that's coming at you right now? And before you say anything, the first thing I want to say is her voice absolutely fucking perfect talking on this podcast?
Mm-hmm.
You need to be on radio. You really do. You need to just come work for me. Skip him.
I will fight Doug publicly.
I need a voice.
You're not going to be able to, your plane's not going to land now.
Oh, man. All right. Kaitlyn, give it to us. How do you think this adventure is going, and where do you see yourself going?
It's going great. And first of all, I just love you both. So no need to fight because I love pouring into both of you guys. So, I mean, right now, one of my favorite things is that I talk with people in the community every single day. I have people reaching up saying, hey, I need help with this. Hey, anyone, you can connect me here or there. And I just love it because I've had the opportunity to talk with so many people in the academy. I've been able to kind of figure out like what their superpower is, almost just even on a phone call. And if I can see it very clearly, I'll tell them so that they can kind of skip the guesswork, because I think as an entrepreneur, it's a lot of, trying something, taking action, trying it out. If it works, do it. If not, cross it off and go on to the next path. And so if I can help somebody kind of see what their natural, like God-given talent is, and they can go utilize that and go serve people around them, there's no greater gift than that, because like we were all made to do specific things. And they're not just like shiny things like, oh, I can sing really well, I can run really fast. It's like you have specific talents. And like that's actually something I implement with like my own children is like we go around the table and I say like you specifically are extremely diligent. Like you specifically, Scotty, are very kind and giving. So like we have different talents, and like I can see that in the different people I'm working with every day, be it a random person from Facebook that I meet that I'm like, dang, you have a call and a gift. And that's why I've been like keeping a CRM of all these different people so that when I meet their counterpart, I can connect them together, because all of us have different skill sets. None are better than the other, but we're just to help find the other people we can serve. So that's why I do love that Brian's given me this opportunity to work with the community, because that's like truly my passionate income is working with these people. So that's why I didn't care about working for free for 2 months. I absolutely loved it. And I love it today. And like my goal is that these people, they're buying properties all this year. We're going to have a ton of business owners this next year. We want to nurture it so that these families just explode, that their wealth explodes, that their relationships explode. So I love everything I'm doing right now.
And can I hit on that a little bit, Doug? Because
Absolutely.
What's so important, so it's like when you look at someone like Kaitlyn, what you don't see is like the hours and hours and hours of conversation and like tweaks that we've made to the role to make sure that she is thriving in her zone of genius and her zone of genius only.
Yeah.
Like, so as a business owner, like this is a perfect example of just like someone where you're like, if you want to attract people that are like the best and the brightest, like Kaitlyn's better than me in so many different ways. And so what we talk about all the time is she has her words that we use in the business actually pretty frequently. We say icky.
Right.
She's like, this feels icky.
Yeah.
This is icky. And so I'm like, hey, we're trying this thing out. How does that feel? Does that feel icky or does that feel good? She's like, I'm like, okay, let's take that off of your plate.
Yeah.
All right. So it's like, make sure there's a quote in EOS, like traction, which is make sure the right people are in the right seats. And so as a business owner, you create the seat, you find the right people and you create the seat for them. And so like there's points where you want to have like the seats created and then put the people in. But for her, I was like, no, you've got the keys to the kingdom. Like, cause I've got full trust. She's like a sister to me. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let's build your dream position. Like, how can this be the most fun thing that you've ever done?
She was doing it for free. It already was.
Yeah, but in the beginning, she hated it. Like, she did it for free, but there was a bunch of stuff where she was like,
No, it's true. We had to figure out, like, because we were doing this together, like, we needed to do, like, the heavy lifting at the beginning, but I needed to learn the different systems and processes so then we can go delegate them. But it was worth it because now it's running very well. But at the beginning, I had to do a lot of the admin work, which was like, I don't like this admin work. I just want to talk to people all day.
But that's what you're doing, and that's what you love.
And that's what we created it to be.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, it was everything. And then we just start chiseling. So it's like a giant block of marble that you put in front of you, and you start chiseling away at it. And it's just feedback, feedback, feedback. So every single day, me and her are going back and forth with each other. I'm like, okay, what do you love about this? How can I improve with my communication to you? How do you like feedback? Because I know exactly how to give her feedback and exactly how to coach her, and she knows how to give me feedback and coach me. So it's like a really good give and take, and we have complementary skill sets to where every single time I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let's take this off of your plate because this drags you down, and like, let's put you in this seat to where this gives you all the energy in the world. Because the worst way that you're going to keep somebody, like the best way to drive someone away that's like the best and the brightest is have them doing the wrong stuff that they're not great at. So it's just like if she was doing admin work and doing a bunch of like, it would be awful.
Yeah.
But like me being like, her superpower is empathy and like connection. So I'm like, let me put you in a role where you get to be with people in the trenches, like being vulnerable and authentic and really actually helping people and changing people's lives. And I was telling her like, as time progresses, this compounds on itself and it compounds on itself. And now here we are a year later to where now she can send a couple emails, raise $100 million. You know? So like for me and her, we could talk a little bit if you want about, kind of a conversation that we had about when I was coming back from Norway. And I'm kind of curious to hear about your perspective from that conversation because I was on this plane. I was like, I know what the next 20 years looks like. And then I called Kaitlyn. So I'm curious about you sharing the story from your perspective.
Well, so I was at the airport when you gave me that call, and it was just amazing because like Brian felt like very inspired to go over there. And so like we were all I think we were just both kind of waiting for like that moment to hit because you were thinking the Northern Lights or whatever it might be. And like he had this moment of like, this is what it looks like because, we love what we're doing right now and building this community. But like, we have to think about this 5-10 years out. What is it going to look like? And we have the best and the brightest in this community. And so when he gave me the call and basically like shared his vision, and I'll let you share it because it is your vision. I personally was just like, this is where the path is leading. Like there are bigger and greater things. There are people within this community whose lives are just going to explode because of the framework that is being created that they don't even know is being created right now. So I want Brian to share what his vision is.
I'm gonna plug him for a second, but you're selling yourself short on that point. All right. So I get to listen to you a lot. So me and you talk a lot on the phone.
You know my weaknesses. You know my strengths.
So you are doing a lot more than you just said for him. And he understands that 100% because the intro to this whole thing was he can't do this without you. So if you didn't hear that,
doesn't exist,
then you need to realize to check yourself. Because remember when I started working with you and said, I have to come out with my disclaimer, I'm not a PC artist. I can't talk PC all the time, number one. Number two, I'm going to say shit to you that's going to offend you. But that's very good because now I hit a nerve and it's going to make you think. So you have to understand that. So that's what he's doing. He's hitting a nerve with you because you're not thinking that you're worth what you should be worth. And I've had this conversation with you multiple times.
It's true.
Stop selling yourself short. You are awesome and keep that up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's what leads into the vision, man, because for me, there's this one quote that I do everything by, and that's play long-term games with long-term people. Mm-hmm. That's it. If you want to have like one quote that summarizes business success, it's literally that. It's all your people. So I'm looking at Kaitlyn and I'm like, what we're doing here is like magical. Like this is magic, what we're doing. And this is amazing. But I'm looking at 10, 20 years in the future, because she's in her 30s. I'm about to be in my 30s as well. And so we're like, what are we doing at 40? Like, are we really wanting at 40 and 50 years old, are we going to want to be, helping people like leave corporate America like actively? Not necessarily, right? So it's like that will still exist and this is all going to be there. But it's just like we're going to have teams and delegation and we're going to be moving into like the next phase of wealth building. So it's like I was saying we're going to be buying businesses because I think that's the biggest opportunity in the next, like year to 5 years is there's going to be a massive transfer of ownership of wealth in human recorded history. Yeah. And so with me and her, I was like, what we do in 3 sentences is we unlock entrepreneurs. And it's a we now. It's like a me and her thing because it's like a together thing. It's not just like my thing with her along. Like it's exactly what you said. Like it's a joint effort now. Yeah. So the next thing she's going to be an absolute partner in, but we're going to be buying businesses because we unlock entrepreneurs. That's what we do. Entrepreneurs are not created. They're unlocked. So the person that's working that corporate job all through school, all through when they were growing up, they were always a square peg trying to fit into a round hole until that one day came where they just stopped trying to fit in the hole and they were like, I need to do this for myself. That's when they realized they always had it and it was just time to unlock, right? And we're also going to help unlock entrepreneurs on the back end of these people that are working these businesses. They're like, I'm sick of this. I've been doing this for 20 years. My kids don't want this business. I need somebody that's going to do this the right way and like put people first, like really care. And then I want to have like a legacy that's withheld. I want my people, my team taken care of. And I want to make sure it's not just some private equity company coming in and just demolishing everything. Yeah. So I was like, that's where we're going to build our wealth. So when I talk to Kaitlyn, I'm not talking about 6-figure salary. I'm talking about like, hey, have you like sat back and thought in the next 10 years, like you will be worth over $10 million?
See, somebody else said it.
Yeah. I was like, you will be like, and I have to actively make my vision bigger so that her vision is within it. Yeah. So I'm like, and we help with each other's vision. I'm like, hey, like this is what that would look like. And so for that company, I'm immediately thinking like, who are the people and what seats are they going to be in to do this together? Because our competitive advantage is we just pour into people and we just lead with value with no ask or expectation of return.
Yep.
So when that day comes where it's like, okay, cool, it's time to go, then we have the best and the brightest at our disposal. And I'm like, we make a couple of phone calls between me and her, and like we have the best operators, we have the best M&A people, we have the best M&A lawyers, we have the best team, and then we create a holdco, and then we just go for the freaking races.
Yeah.
So like I called her and I was like, that's what we're doing. Like buckle up, and also you're getting freaking equity in Action Academy because you deserve it.
Yeah.
And then so I'll let you riff on that because afterwards it was like kind of a text conversation. So I don't even know how you reacted to all of that.
No, my mind was blown because, like I said, like this is a new world to me. Like these being around you amazing entrepreneurs every day, like this past year, like it's been seriously like an answer to my prayers because I've always wanted to be around these types of individuals. I've always known that I've had that within myself, and now being able to be surrounded. I just love that the framework of the actual community is like you have to try not to hit the $1 million mark in 3 years. Like good luck trying. If you do the exact things that are said on this path, and you communicate with the people in this community, like you have to try not to hit that mark. And that's what gave me the confidence to shift the mindset from, hey, we're going to retire at 65 to no, the next 3 years are made for us and we're going to explode this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so you've heard it twice now. So you've heard it from him and you've heard it from me that you're going to be worth more than the two of us combined in the next 15 years. And the reason why that is because you are so good at what you do. Don't take this as a confidence builder. Take this as you are this person.
Statement of fact.
Yeah.
This is you are who you are.
This is who you are. You just didn't know it, and you weren't letting yourself realize it.
It's like she was unlocked.
I know. It's
Oh
crazy.
my God.
Imagine that.
You unlocked your system.
Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah.
But it's really, really cool to see somebody realize what they were and who they want to be, and then actually make the transition. So in 3 to 4 months that we've been talking, you've changed a whole lot. I mean, even though you're still shiny thing person, we're going to get through that. Don't worry.
What's cool is you start to rub off on each other too.
Yeah.
So now it's like she picks up my mannerisms and I pick up her mannerisms. So it's like I've helped her really like control and regulate her emotions to where her highs are fun and enjoyable, but they're not off the rails, and her lows are like really like manageable to where it's like we've been through, you know, situations where you've lost massive deals and you're like that would derail a normal person.
Yeah.
And then like for you, it's like, okay, let's take a week, let's be upset about this and let's keep trucking. And then we keep going.
It's just a no.
Yeah, it's just another no, which you'll have many of in your life. So it's like, and then so we talk about that where it's like, yeah, I was able to help you with like business acumen, but she helps me in so many ways too, where it's just like, now I have to have a conversation with myself about, you know, empathy, about leadership, about managing and like teams and everything. And she's so much better at that than me. So when it comes to people, I'm really good at attracting people, but she's really good at making every single person in the room feel like really seen and poured into, and like that absolute deep connection that is so, so rare.
Yeah.
Like she can do that with anybody. So it's just like that nurturing empathy that is very rare. It's a superpower. And that's not one.
It's hard to find.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't possess it as much, but I'm working towards it. So it's like, she teaches me that.
Well, thank you for saying that because like I've had a lot of amazing opportunities. Like one, my deal fell through, my storage deal fell through. It was very crushing. But the thing is that, you know, over the next couple months, different, deals come and go. And a couple of different guys in the community, their deals went through or didn't go through. And I was able to reach out to them and say like, hey, I know exactly how you feel right now. It is freaking crappy. But like, just know it happened for a reason because for some reason that didn't go through. And there's something on the other side that's even better for you. And so like, Brian and I, like, we're reading this book right now, and we're talking about, like, how do we make that extra experience for our community members? More than just, like, yeah, swipe the card, you're part of the community, good luck meeting people in it. Like, these people are having one-on-one conversations as different things are wins or losses. Like, we know what they are, and we're able to talk with them and build these bonds with them that I don't think is very common in other communities to where, like, it creates this commitment and this tie because we have these emotional ties together. And so I'm just grateful because we're able to get on that level and the type of quality of people Brian brings in. I'm so grateful because, he attracts these people who are action focused. And the people, like he said, there's been a few people who have come in who are just like, what's in it for me? What are you guys doing for me? It's like, no, this is a seek to serve first mentality because it all comes back. And so, this is a very rare group to where everyone's like a rock star and is like ready to pour into one another.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole premise of your statement, of your value, of everything that you have. This isn't about the $5,400 or $10,000 or $20,000 that you're paying. This is about the action of the community within.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes the difference. Once you start making and taking the actions, you'll never look backwards. So we're trying to get rid of our losses and create more of our wins.
Mm-hmm.
So you haven't lost anything because you haven't found your win. The minute you buy that first win, they'll never stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then from the other side of that, Doug, it's like what we try to serve as is like a lighthouse for not only customers, but for coaching, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, and that's where I think a lot of communities drop the ball is you'll have people come in that are like, oh, we have somebody coming in for a Monday call, or like that's very common in the community mastermind model where you'll have like guest speakers and everything. But for me, I was just like, we want to solve two different problems, and we're actively trying to solve them at the same time, which is, how do we be a lighthouse calling the ships to harbor for all of these people that are, high performers and they're lost. And they're like, I want to be around other high performers that are trying to do what I'm doing because everyone in my job thinks I'm crazy for trying to buy this real estate and buying businesses. And we're like, yo, we got your safe space here. Like, we got your people. Everyone in here is a baller. No one isn't. Like, it's just not tolerated to not be. Yeah. And then on the flip side of that, we're also calling in like the coaches into the harbor, like you. And that's why it's super interesting that you're conducting the interview because like you're one of the main ones where we're like, we speak to you as well, where it's just like people that are an absolute stone cold operator in their field. They've already had their success. They're killing it. And they've got like proof of concept. Like you've done it for decades, over 30 years of investing in real estate and businesses. But the last thing you want to do is build like media and build the audience and all that stuff. You don't want to be making the reels and stuff. So we're like, yo, we have distribution. We're like, let's call these people in because what you want to do is just help people.
Yeah.
And you don't want to help people that aren't worth a crap. Like, you want to help people that are actually vetted, that when you say something, they're like, okay, you say jump, they ask how high. Yeah. And like, that's what we are like getting the members ready for is like every single one of them, whenever we bring in a mentor or a coach, then they're like, oh my God, I really enjoy helping these people because it's different from people that, over and over again, you try to help and they don't do anything with it. So I'm curious about your perspective on it.
Oh, absolutely. That's 100% true because as we all know, throughout the cycle of, let's say, social media and everything else, we put out our landing page, then we put our funnels to it, and then we bring them into the system. We make the 20 calls. Out of the 20 calls, we get 3 people that are interested. We have our half-hour talks with those 3, and then we throw away all 3 and start over.
Yeah, fun.
Now I go on the other night onto a show, and I teach them what I'm doing, and at the end of it, you guys put my contact information up there. I don't usually work on Fridays. I opened up my Friday, completely filled it, and Saturday, and Monday. So I had to cancel all my Saturdays because I don't know how it got opened. But then I got Monday and Tuesday, I've got full list. I got 9 people from the other meeting the other night, and there was only 13 people on it. So I mean, it's just asinine that you get the right people with the right mentalities that want to talk to you and then actually want to take the information that you have and apply it. So out of the 5 that I talked to on Friday, 3 have already signed up for session number 2 because I always talk to people twice because you can't get all the information out of 1 hour talk. And so the second one, I always do the same thing. I always interview them and I ask all the questions because I did all the listening in the first one. So now I take everything I learned from what they said and I tell them what I heard. And then that way we can kind of break it down and say, okay, where do you want to go from here?
Yeah. I actually have like a bit of a pivot question. So I want to ask you, Kaitlyn, because we've talked about how you've developed, over this last year, and Doug's seen you over the last 4 months. I've seen you over the last year. I'm curious about your perspective. Like, how have I like improved or any feedback from my end? Because like I've changed a bunch too while we've grown together, and you've impacted me a lot. So we've been talking about how you've changed. I'm curious about your feedback.
On how you've changed?
Yeah. Hope to say nice things, please.
Of course. So,
She will tell me when I'm when I'm off too. She'll tell me.
So, yeah.
There's no audience.
Yeah.
So this is just us in a room talking. So let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, when I first met Brian, giddy, excited guy for his community, all happy about it. And, as we went into the trenches together in January, it was stressful. Like, we went through times together of being like, how the heck does this system work? And oh my gosh, I'm spending hours doing all this admin stuff. Is this even effective? And, we went through some hard times together. And, honestly, once we got over to Costa Rica time, we planned a Costa Rica trip together. And that was a huge, huge task. And it was very overwhelming for the both of us. Like, literally, the day before freaking Costa Rica, he's like, go get $2,000. Like, she won't take my credit card. Bring it on over. And it's so much stress and anxiety. And we were both kind of stressed on that trip, but it ended up being one of the most life-changing experiences as well. And so I saw Brian, obviously yesterday when we came here to Nashville, and he went on this trip to Iceland and Norway. And even on those phone calls we had, I could tell that he had transformed, because he is such an overachiever to the point to where he will work until the middle of the night and have not eaten anything. And it's like, Brian,
She has to remind me every day.
yes, I'm like, eat, my friend, eat. And I am so impressed by his diligence, but he's been able to realize that diligence is important, but taking care of yourself first is even more important, because sure, we can go outwork anybody, but how's our mental health at the same time? And so after his trip he had, I feel like he's in his element right now. He is who he's supposed to be. He feels like he's on the right path, and that sure, he's not running a million miles an hour, but they're actually more effective steps that he's taking.
Yeah.
People don't understand that
No.
that your mental health is the key to success, because if you're broke, your company's going to be broke.
Yeah, if your cup is empty, you can't pour into others. But I want to share a couple of stories that from that Kaitlyn because we all share the highlight reels, but I don't think that's where most people are going to get the value from this. I think they're going to get the value from the real reel. And the real reel is before Costa Rica, her and I was having some, cash flow scarcity because I hadn't quite figured out the business model, and I was trying to figure out how do we have predictable cash flow, because it was just so variable. It was fluctuating. We're doing better and better and better, but then you're like, okay, we're 3 weeks into the month, are we going to be able to do this so you get paid? That conversation that we've had conversations where I'm like, okay, we need to delay this a week and then I'll pay you then. And that was the early days of this, but now we're actually a business.
Sure.
And so we're going into Costa Rica, and I'm just fully delegated it out to Kaitlyn. So she's planning this first trip, international, hour and a half away from the airport, third world, systems and everything, very antiquated. And she's doing all this work in the background, and I'm over here working on my stuff. I'm paying zero attention to it, right?
Yeah.
And so all I see in the background is just okay, I know they're doing stuff over here, and I'm just getting it filled and selling tickets, selling seats. I'm just you've got this. You figure out all the vendors and everything. So we get down to the end of it, and there was a period of time where I told her a certain dollar amount that I was going to pay her, and there was a miscommunication. So I was in my head, I thought I told her I was going to pay her $1,500, and in her head, she heard me say $5,000.
I remember.
$5,000.
Nice.
And here's a really cool story for people. So we get down to getting pretty close to Costa Rica, and we're talking about paying for me to fly, me paying to fly her out, me paying the $5,000, and this both hits me at the same time. And I'm like, we don't have money in the account. I was like, wait, what do you mean $5,000? What do you mean paying for $800 flight? And I go into scarcity as a business owner,
Yeah.
right? And what a really cool moment happened where she said, no, I don't accept you not paying me this.
Yeah.
This is what you told me. And me and you are working, you don't see the amount of work I put into this. You don't see the amount of energy and effort I've put into this. I've done this, and this. I deserve this, and I feel upset with how you're handling this. And she just let me have it. And then so I was there's two ways I could have handled that. I could have been upset, or I could have gone back and been throw your ego out the freaking door and listen. And that's what I did. And I was I had no idea the amount of work she was putting into this. I had zero clue. And so once I saw it all in there, I was you're right. I am 100% wrong. Not only am I going to pay you this, here's a bonus, flying you out. And then after that, that was just a really cool point where it was the moment where we both realized feedback is a two-way street.
Yeah. 100%.
You know, and she stood her ground on that. And I'm so glad that she did, because that was the first time where she literally just stood up and said, no, like, I'm not okay with this. I'm not okay with how you handled this, how you treated me, any part of this. She's like, this is not acceptable in my book, and this is not how I want to do business. When you talk to me when you're stressed, and this is my problem. She said, when you talk to me when you're stressed, it stresses me out. And she goes, and it makes me feel icky.
Right.
And that's where the word came from. She's like, you make me feel icky whenever we get on the phone. And I had to look at myself in the mirror and be like, wait a second. Because what did I say when we were talking about ops? I was like, you don't get it. I was like, it's operations. Operations aren't touchy-feely. Like, we're talking about numbers, dollars, and data. And she goes, okay, well, this isn't corporate America.
Eh?
And she's
How'd
like,
that feel?
yeah. The thing that I'm trying to help people leave.
Yeah.
My rock star, like
know.
my business partner telling me that I'm creating the culture. And I was like,
Oh, yeah.
ow.
Ow.
You know, I was like, oh my God, you're completely right. I'm reverting back into my corporate brain of how I used to handle things.
Yeah.
I was like, we don't have to do, and she said that. She's like, we don't have to do things this way. We could change how we do things. I was like, God, you're right. And so she like laid it on me. And then after that, every single time that we talk, it's like we communicate much better. And I make sure I'm like, if there is a problem, and like vice versa, and I'll let her talk on it a little bit too from her perspective, but it's just like we make sure that at the end of every single conversation, even if it's bad news, that was another problem I had, was I couldn't take bad news. Yeah, which is every business owner's problem.
Nobody likes to hear it.
And so I was like, at the end of every single conversation, we need to make sure that we feel lighter and more energized for having had that conversation.
Yeah. So the hardest part about our business is listening to people. Or actually, that's the easiest part. We can listen to everybody. We just don't hear what we're listening to.
Yeah.
And once you learn how to hear what people are saying, so that's the reason why I always have that second conversation with people, because now I get to listen to what they said, and I get to interpret to what I heard, and then I get to tell it back to them. Because this is what I heard. They may not have said it that way or may not have meant it that way. So that way it teaches people to explain exactly what they mean. So that way everything is copacetic.
Yeah. I'm curious about your perspective on all of that, because like that was a turn.
I mean, kudos to you.
Yeah.
Getting in his ass.
I literally had to go like just sit on the edge of my bed and just think for like an hour after that.
Well, after that conversation about the corporate one, because like you were getting so strung up on different things, and I was like, didn't you leave corporate for a reason? Like, can't we do this the fun way? Like, you left corporate America so that we could create, you know, the life that you love. And so if that's what we're working towards, like, why would we try to hold on to the hard ways that actually didn't benefit anyone? Yeah. And so, like, you know, we would have a lot of conversations, and like sometimes they get to topics that obviously we don't want to talk about. And then we like leave the phone calls just feeling like icky and gross. And so, yeah, one of the calls I was like, Brian, can we just share wins? Like, can we just talk about something good at the end of the calls? Because it's going to like, it feels really bad trying to like end a call on this like note of like, oh, we'll just figure it out later, you know? And so we transitioned it, and Brian's like, yeah, let's share wins. And so like, you know, after our phone calls, even if they're hard ones and we're talking about the different nitty gritty things that aren't fun to talk about in business, we end it with wins of the community, because ultimately at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Like,
yeah.
And I've been screenshotting different wins that I see, because every day I'm seeing wins from people. Hey, you know, me and this dude in the Action Academy partnered up together and we're doing deals together. Hey, you know, I'm closing on this, you know, multifamily next week. And I'll send those over to Brian, because, you know, he's the overview over all of it, but I really am in the weeds with people. And so I want him to know how grateful people are. You know, people will go through the course and they'll tell me, oh my gosh, I just had this incredible experience when I was going through like the vision part of the Action Academy course. And like, he doesn't always get to hear that. And so I try to
none of it. All I see is the problems. I'm like, oh, this is a fire that needs to be put out. This is a fire that needs to be put out. We're going wrong. Here. And she's like, no, it's working.
Yes. And that's why I've been more diligent in sending him over the different wins that we do have, and also sending him the different, what we call like mint on the pillow experiences. Like, hey, this was something extra for this person, and this was something extra for this person. And it's very like specific and particular to those people. And I know those people will remember those moments forever. They might not be spotlighted for everyone to see, but it's important to the different community members, because like every person counts within our group. We know everybody, like he said, their activity rate. We know how often they're interactive. I reach out to those people personally in the bottom 10 and 20% so that we can see, hey, what needs do we need to fix? Because we actually care about these people. It's because we know them when we pour into them. So I think that's the genius of the whole system.
do the
system.
same thing. When people don't schedule the regular meetings with me, I call them and say, hey, look, are you still interested? Do you want to continue? How are we doing? Because if you don't want this position, I need to get somebody that does.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they feel sorry for themselves and, oh, yeah, well, I just had this going on, this is going on. And I says, I already told you the first conversation we had that no excuses.
Yeah.
If you want somebody to listen to your excuses, the therapist is $100 an hour and it's a lot cheaper than me.
Exactly. But yeah, she's talking about this thing that we implemented called breath mint on the pillow energy.
Yeah.
You know, so we're like, what are the small 1% things? And like, even like me and her, like flying out here to Nashville right here. Like, I just booked this flight last night, you know, and then I pop up over here just to like say hello to everyone and bring books, bring hats, bring stuff, just like bring energy. Because it's just like, what is that? And we'll say that it's a cue that we do to each other, like breath mint on the pillow. And it's like, you know, what's that extra one thing, you know, like, it's like you go to Cabo at our event, like, do you have somebody that's holding a sign that has your name, you know, at the door? And they're like, hey, welcome. Like, oh my God, Doug, welcome. Like, come here. I've got your room. I've got everything. And you have like a gift basket and everything. Breath mint on the pillow energy. So it's like me and her are in a unique position where it's like nobody can compete with us because of where we're sitting. Like, this is our one thing. This is what we focus on. And so we were running it like a Michelin star restaurant. And that's the restaurant energy that we're trying to bring to this because nobody else is doing it. Like, their community is like a side project for an online course that they're throwing. And then they're just like throwing people into this. And for me and her, we're like we've talked every single day for a year, every day. I don't think we've gone a day without talking. And we talk every day. We're back and forth. Like, how do we improve? How do we improve? How do we improve?
Your biggest competitor is you.
Yeah. And we do this crazy thing called like asking the community for feedback.
What?
Yeah. And they tell us.
No shit.
It's crazy.
Now you just got to listen.
Oh, we do.
We listen.
She does.
No, we both do. Trust me.
We listen and we implement, and it's pretty incredible because like any cool thing that's come out with the Action Academy over the past like several months, it's been because the members,
Yeah, absolutely. They're a lot of fun. You've got a great core. I mean, really, really, you do. I mean, some of the people that I have talked to within that organization has been absolutely phenomenal, and I hope I'm doing a good service to what you're offering because.
What do you think? I don't know.
Most definitely, Doug.
Why?
You've saved a lot of people. A lot of people have, had their moments of crisis, and give Doug a call, because you're able to help put out those fires very quickly from a strategy standpoint.
Yeah,
perspective.
They like to, I like to listen to people and I like to hear what they say because I was never heard when I used to talk, but that's because I was full of shit. So it was true that they didn't have to listen. So then when I started speaking the truth and living my life on my sleeve, life became easier. And then I didn't have to remember what I was saying so that I could move forward and actually speak what needed to be said.
Yeah, vulnerability is a superpower.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because people view it. I think that's where people mess up in their content too. Is they just share the highlight reels, and instead, what we try to do is, and like myself personally, is I'm just like, how can I share where I'm messing up and like losses and lessons is what we call them.
Yep.
And and like there's nobody that I will listen to more in this world than Kaitlyn. If Kaitlyn tells me something, like now it's like the feedback loop is so tight that I can look at her a certain way and she immediately knows what I'm thinking. And like she could put like a couple dots in a text message and I know exactly what she's thinking. So it's just like now that we're at that point, we've gone through so many losses and so many lessons. We've been like left, right, back and forth. We've been punched in the face by, in the community and everything. It was just like, okay, cool. Like we've swung and missed. We've tried things that we thought would be the best thing ever, and then we didn't. So we've got this quote called, let's make sure we're solving the right problem. You want to share your story on that?
Which one? There's quite a few of them.
Solve with solutions, not with answers.
Well, no, like, are we actually, all this effort that we're putting towards this thing, are we actually solving a problem that exists?
Yeah, why you are.
Well, not always.
Not
Share.
always.
Share
Well,
the last one.
The Monday calls?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have these calls where, the Monday calls where we bring on these different high level individuals. And a lot of the time it's been like podcast style, right? Where it's more, Brian talking with, whoever we brought on. And it's like, that honestly sold me when I first joined because, like, he's talking to Rachel Gainsborough, about, making $300,000, monthly with her luxury Airbnbs. And the fact that I'm able to get into these rooms, incredible. But I'm kind of the anomaly in the sense of, a lot of other people in the group, they just wanted to get coached. They just wanted to ask questions, like similar to the call we just had this last week. And so we took a poll this last week and said, like, hey, would you like to have the more podcast style or coaching style? And it was like 90% want coaching style. And so even though we love, the podcast style, we love bringing on these high-level people, getting them in this room, because the thing is that little do these people know that those can be their mentors. They just have to take the proper steps to make it happen. And it takes a special person to be able to do that, I realized. But because of that, we've transitioned it to more of a coaching style. But the thing is that we'll go through this month, we'll try it out, we'll go through the next month, and we'll just continue to improve. But
feedback.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
And like for me, I get more fired up about like, here's how I'm making $1 million a year passive, right? Like that fires me up. I'm like, that's a call I want to be on. But then with feedback, we're like, how do I submit an LOI? Oh, you want that instead?
Yeah.
They're like, how do I analyze 10 units?
Yeah, it's the simple things.
Got it. Okay. And we asked, and another big thing was with accountability. So like for accountability, me and Kaitlyn were freaking out about doing like this huge challenge where we're tracking everything and we're doing like this macro challenge. And I was like, wait a second. She's like freaking out about it. I was like, let's just put up a poll on the Facebook page and say, how do you guys want to be held accountable? Like you joined for accountability. How do you want to be held accountable? And we said, do you want macro accountability where we do this giant challenge across everyone? We have like a giant leaderboard. Or do you want micro accountability where it's just like you within your pod holding each other accountable weekly? And then it was what, like 80%, 90% pod accountability. And me and her spent hours creating this challenge that nobody's doing for like the entire group.
You know why?
Solving the wrong problem.
You know why they wanted the pod instance? Because they don't want everybody to know their shit. They only want one person to know their shit.
Yeah.
So when they can learn to be honest with themselves, they can learn to be having a lot more fun.
Yeah. But also it's just like we were just creating something and we were stressing about something that people didn't want, So it's like you also have to like listen to the customer and like build like for the people by the people. And so we're like, they're actively telling us, hey, this is how we want things structured. This is the way that we best want to do it. And we're like, there's sometimes that we'll hold fast and there's sometimes we'll budge.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like it comes to our energy. We got to protect our energy too and make sure if we're going to spend hours on something, like let's make sure that we're solving for something that's actually the problem instead of a lot of times people will solve for like what they think is the problem, but it's like not even a concern.
Yeah. So when you talk about community and all that kind of stuff, so we're sitting in, I'm going to give a plug here for a second, but we're sitting in a podcast house of a short-term rental in Nashville.
Yes, sir.
This is my second time here. So if you guys don't realize something, that if I'm here again, it's actually worth coming. So we've come to Matt Haggerty's house. It's an STR, short-term rental, Airbnb, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to label it, it's up to you. He's built this podcast studio in the bottom of the STR. You can rent it for the weekend. He has engineers that are standing here doing nothing and filming us and whatever it is that they do to make us look good. And it's all part of the program.
It's amazing.
You can get it all in one system. You can bill it out separately, whatever it is you want to do. But is there a .com or something I can send people to?
Podcast.house.
So the podcasthouse.com. Go there, check it out. If you come to Nashville, go get drunk, come back here, film your podcast, watch it, laugh at yourselves, just be real, have fun. And it's an amazing entity. And thank you so much, Matt, for hosting us. I can't be more appreciative of it because I get to interview two great people in this world that have helped me grow a lot. They don't think they have. They think I'm helping them, but in reality, they're helping me.
Oh.
So what's the last thing you guys want to put in to exit this little soiree we've just had?
After you.
Well, I can't push enough to focus on yourself. I don't remember which podcast said it. Could have been Brian's. But it said if you had $10,000 to invest, that investment should be in yourself, because once you go and invest in yourself, you can 10x what you can do. And so for anyone listening who is curious of what their next investment should be, I can guarantee that it should be yourself, because everyone has been given gifts and talents, and once they're able to utilize that, they go out into the world and they do great things.
Yeah. Everything compounds on that. So it's like, it's all about building the foundation. So it's like, if you have clarity, confidence, and cash flow, like you're kind of unstoppable. So that's what we seek to serve. Like that's what we are doing, and that's what we're helping people do. So it's just like, when it comes to, if you're going to go to a restaurant anyways, right, you can go to Denny's or you can go to the Michelin star restaurant. And it's like, we're trying to give you a Michelin star experience at a Denny's price. And that's how we view it. Seriously. And, you know, and then Ace is over here shaking his head. Yes, because he's also a paying member of the Action Academy. And this is, you know, amazing. And so we just really want to help people. And so the way that I view it is the cash flow is just the surface level thing. There's a lot of people with new kids or people that are having kids in Action Academy. And so I'm viewing it like not only with my family, but like watching Kaitlyn as a mother to her kids and like seeing how present she is and how wonderful she is with her family. I'm just like, man, like what an impact that would be to have everyone else have that experience. So when people join, I'm like, yeah, we'll get you your cash flow. We'll get you all this community mentorship and all that stuff. More importantly, like when you have your kids and your kids are growing up, you'll be there for them. You'll be present. So they become more better friends, better humans, better parents, better husbands, better wives, better moms, better dads. And it's just like, then that's impact at scale, because then your kid gets impacted by that.
Yeah.
So it's just like, that's how we're changing families and doing impact at scale. So that's what we do at Action Academy.
That's awesome.
We also buy real estate.
Actionacademy.com. This has been Help Educate Me. I've been your host, Doug McCarty. I've done very minimal talking because I really, really wanted to highlight these guys because they do a lot for everybody, and their team within their Action Academy help each other. So it's not a cult. It's not anything wrong. It's really not. We're not going to preach that. It's an actual community that likes to help others, and he's built this program very, very, very well. And I don't see very many people in there that aren't helping others to try to help themselves. So with that being said, Help Educate Me. If you've got any questions, please leave the comments below. I can get you all the information. The details and the description will be for the Action Academy, for the podcast house, any other information that I have alongside this and where we want to go. We'll be down there. I can't appreciate anything else, but leave your comments. What do you want to see next? What can I help you with? What questions can I ask somebody that you are afraid to ask? Thank you so much. See you on the next one.
Boom.